All right. Welcome, everybody, to a Friday night of entertainment. I'll
All
tell you
right.
what, price can't be beat, huh? That's probably the
Yes,
best thing I can tell everybody here on the call.
you got it.
So,
You got it.
everybody, thanks for joining in. I'm sure there's more people that will probably come in. There was probably about 30 people that registered to come in. So, some are here, some may be here, some may not be here, but you know what? We're gonna do the best we can as we go. Um, just to do a little housekeeping here, this is the Mr. We're called the Mr. Local History Project. We're based in Basking Ridge, New Jersey. Um, just give a little background that I can give you here in terms of this program is we just basically try to promote local history, and we try to do it though with a social twist. So we try to have fun doing it. We're not a historical society. Um, we don't play by normal rules. We try to have a lot of fun. Everything we do involves typically three things: food, booze, and entertainment, with a little history always tied in. So it's been a fun group, and I can't tell you how much these two gentlemen have fit into the mix, because it fits perfectly within our purview of our charter. So I got to tell you, I am really happy to be here tonight to present on Mischief Night of all nights. I figured that I would be 10th in line to get to have these guys come and play, but I certainly appreciate Matt and Will to take an hour out of their time to come and join us here on what we refer to in Jersey as Mischief Night. Guys, thanks for joining.
Yes, thanks for having us. And Brooks, of course, to be with you on Mischief Night, as soon as Will and I heard, we were like everybody else. Actually, as soon as we're done, we're going to go on one or two more interviews, one more podcast tonight, but we made sure that you guys were a priority. Brooks, we love you and we love everything you're doing. And without
Thanks a lot.
history, what do we have, Brooks?
Exactly. So I'm sure that again, and everybody on the call, certainly this is a very open discussion. I asked for an hour of their time. I just thought it was really a very this project is close to me. Obviously, I lived on that part of town for a number of years. Um, and it was really funny when I got contacted by a trustee when I was working at the historical society that said, "Hey, we got this guy. He called over the other day, and he's thinking about doing this movie and this documentary, and he wants to do it about the devil tree. Who knows about the devil tree?" I'm like, "Well, I know a little bit about the devil tree. What do you want to know about it?" "No, this guy needs somebody who really knows about it." I go, "Well, like, I live right over by it. What do you want to tell about it?" So
Yeah.
all of a sudden, it was just great when Matt came to town and he told this story about how he wanted to do this documentary, and I said, "Hey, it it may be scary, it may not be scary. What do you want from me?" And I thought, "Hey, let's just bring. I'm always open for a conversation. Come on in. Let's sit down and see what you got to do." So Matt, I certainly want to introduce Matt Ryan and Will Cook. Um, they are the partners in crime here for the Haunted Roots documentary that was put together. I know Matt can give you sort of his profile. In fact, I'm not even going to give the profile. I want these guys to introduce themselves and let us know. And let's just kick this off. You guys take it away.
Man, I guess I'll start. I was born right in Morristown Memorial Hospital, right in in New Jersey, right there, and first grew up in Gladstone, and ended up moving to Basking Ridge and Burnsville when I was older. So I lived in Gladstone and Burnsville and Basking Ridge, as well as Bedminster. So I spent a lot of time just around Somerset Hills and Somerset County, and one of the most fascinating things that I got to do was, I left New Jersey to actually pursue a professional sports career. And I ended up moving down to Texas and, training for a year and then going on a long drive tour for 10 years. And that's what I did for 10 years when I left New Jersey. And after that, father time catches all. And I was a personal protection officer, armed personal protection officer in Dallas. We're never allowed to say who we worked for, but, there are some people that you definitely know. And after that, when I was a personal protection officer, which leads into all this, I would be meeting these people and they would be saying, you know what, Matt, you need to be on TV. He goes, you need to be hosting something. You're an actor. You're a character. You got the look. And I always, and I was saying, oh, not me, whatever. And, one night after some trouble in Dallas, and I just said, I'm not getting paid enough for this. And, went right back into acting, which, I had done some stuff when I was a kid, 6 years old to 19. I acted in a couple things, some stuff for NYU film students and an A&E commercial and stuff like that. Nothing really great, but yeah, I fell in love with film again, you can say, just a few years ago. So local guy, local athlete. I didn't know how to use a camera 2.5 years ago. So I never thought I'd be, making documentaries or films.
Hey, and yet here you are.
Yes,
Well, what about you? How'd you meet up with this guy? Obviously, you got dragged into this project. I remember there were early discussions. What was the story down there in Florida, and how'd you meet this guy, and how'd you get dragged in it coming up to Jersey?
So my name's Will Cook, and I originally got into film probably 6-7 years ago now at this point. And yeah, I mean, I was actually on a little local film set in Jacksonville, Florida. That's where I grew up, is in Jacksonville, Florida, born and raised. And met Matt on set. He and I hit it off like right off the bat. We ended up talking a lot all the time. And then after a while, he hits me up and says, Will, I really want to tell this really cool story about the Devil's Tree up in New Jersey. If you haven't heard about it, I'll fill you in and everything about it. And I was intrigued. He eventually told me the full breakdown of it, and I knew there was a story here. So I definitely wanted to be a part of it. And from the moment we started, I don't think either one of us knew about how long it was going to take to complete or do. Quality is something that we really wanted, but that short little conversation ended up turning into like a 2.5-year process of multiple trips up to New Jersey, interviews with tons of different people, conflicting stories, budget conflicts, scheduling conflicts, lots of difficult interactions with the interviewees and other people behind the scenes. So it's easy to kind of see once you know more about it, how this all took 2.5 years.
So he's a hard guy to say no to, I think, too, right?
Oh, no, I knew there was an absolute story there. I've turned down a bunch of stories before in the past, but when Matt told me the full story, I was like, there's something here. There's absolutely a story to tell in a unique and creative way. And I think that's what we were able to hopefully do with this documentary. So far, that's the feedback that we've been getting. So really happy about that. But, Matt comes across so genuine on camera, and, it just all the stars lined up there.
Now everybody's going to have a piece in this story, and I'm glad that other people joined to have this conversation, because when I originally met Matt, he pitched the idea to me. I think it's really interesting about Matt. Why don't you just explain what was the intent of the story? And let me ask you this: should I play the clip first to just anchor everybody to it, or do you want to maybe set up the clip and then we'll play it? What would you
play the clip? I played the clip first, I think.
Yeah, play the clip first, and then I'll go through it with y'all after and tell you what's happening.
All right, let me see if I got it right here.
Do you know, a lot of people, Brooks, thought I was completely making this up, this whole tree story, this whole thing, and I had to bring in books and show people what was going on. And this is my favorite book right here, Brooks. Ever seen this one?
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, buddy.
My coloring book.
This just isn't a ghost story. This is my story. my haunted roots.
There'd be no snow around the tree.
The youth has certainly picked it up. They want to test the paranormal.
He killed his family here at this tree.
A woman dressed in black, she was there worshiping the devil.
Your hands will turn black.
It's like heat dissipates.
Black Ford.
Because my dad drove a white Ford.
Vision of a small woman.
The woman in the dress, can I talk to you?
I used to live here, and I'm not here to hurt you.
Yeah, I'm getting dizzy again.
Goosebumps, I don't know why.
And who has been haunting this house?
The KKK to that actual Devil's Tree.
I lived there my whole life. I'm doing okay.
What I want to do is not give away, the whole thing, but we also have to keep, all the people that live there. I want them to keep them as anonymous as possible. So you'll notice that during the story, nobody was really named, and because people partook in some of the activities that went on there, and we didn't want to blow everybody's spot up or say, oh, Jimmy was the guy, Jim was the guy who was partying down there and doing this and doing things wrong. So we left everybody anonymous, that was involved in the story. And so without saying, who I rented from or where I was or who owned any properties, but this all started in, early 2000s, 2002, through a time period of 2005 through December of 2005. And I rented a room at this 1790s farmhouse that I knew where the Devil's Tree was, and I never put two and two together when I actually went up there until they started telling me about the Devil's Tree on the property. And I had known what it was from Weird New Jersey. Just at one point in time, I'd seen it on the cover of Weird New Jersey and just blew it off and said, haha, what a hoax, stuff like that. And when I started renting in that house was probably when I really started to actually believe in paranormal and things like that without giving away too much. There's some strange crap happening in that house, Brooks. And that's the only way I can explain it, and when I lived there, strange crap was happening in 04 and 05. And so I'm sitting here for 15 years, right? And one night in the middle of the night, I just wake up out of a sound sleep and I can't get this place off my mind. Like, it's just the house. So I wait till the sun comes up, literally, and I'm searching around trying to find out who owns the house and who's there now. And I call, and I finally get in the right touch with the right track of people. And the guy who owns the house now says, well, you better hurry up. They just started ripping the floors out last night. We're tearing it down. So right. I don't know what the hell happens between the moment when that house starts to get ripped apart and I wake up in the middle of the night, and I hadn't thought of the place in years. But that's where it started at the ending. You know what I'm saying? So 15 years later, I wake up in the middle of the night saying, oh, this house, what a story. Oh my gosh, I just met this guy, Will Cook. He's so effing talented. I got to get this guy to go up there and tell this story. And I lived there and I experienced all that was the Devil's Tree. When I got there, I was in relation to the person that owned the property that the Devil's Tree is on. And it's actually separated from the farmhouse property. But as you know, originally 225, 250 years ago, the estimated age of that tree is that was all one big piece of property owned by a predominant family. And so at one point in time, it was all one big piece of property, but it did get split up. But I was, involved in both pieces of the property, and people never separate it. People always associate with that tree with that farmhouse. It didn't matter about the farmhouse up the street or anything else.
Right.
That was Farmer Nick's farmhouse, and that's what the legend was. Even though technically the Devil's Tree isn't on the 1790s farmhouse property. But at one point in time, they all were just one big piece of property, and so this story had to be told. I mean, there's so many stories that are told where you're just you're brought down these thin leads and all this stuff, and you sit there for an hour and you're like, all right, I just didn't learn anything, I didn't see anything, I had no paranormal evidence, and these guys just basically told me what to think the whole time. And Will and I wanted to do the complete opposite. We wanted to present every piece of evidence to the watcher, and then just without giving away the ending, I say right at the ending, this is what happened, and you dudes got to figure out what the hell's going on, because I did the best I could, and I'm still a little bit lost on what happened. And I'm just being honest as the filmmaker. Will and I went up there with full intentions to tell the story of the Devil's Tree and the truth of the Devil's Tree, which everybody in town knows, and I'm not going to tell any secrets today. Everybody knows all that crap's fake, but we wanted to tell the rest of the world to stop coming to town and setting shit on fire and having seances and causing trouble. And, I have seen with my own eyes trouble. And when I say trouble, I mean trouble. I mean drug use, like blatant, kids with bats out there, kids the underage drinking there, and that's what they did. They went out to go see the tree and kick it and piss on it and climb on it and paint on it and hide things in it. And it was just a story that got way out of control. And like when I said you were there, I know I got off on a sidetrack here, but when I said when you were there, when we're both standing there, I said, I think this story will help, people leave it alone, come up, visit it, and just stop trying to vandalize anything in town, whether it was a tree, a building, anything that's getting vandalized in town. You kind of want to say, hey, everybody, cut it out. You know what I mean? It could have been anything in town, and somebody may have come by and told the story. But me jumping on Facebook and saying, oh, what a joke, this is all fake, whatever. This was how I could tell my story and people would listen, because it's hard to get people to listen nowadays. So I put together all the bells and whistles, got every story I could, and this thing is the mega bowl of urban legends, paranormal, supernatural, unexplained activity. It's all mashed in this little 44 minutes of Basking Ridge excitement. And I
don't know. Did we lose you?
I think you froze there.
I think we froze Matt. Will, let me ask you this. Well, we're looking at Matt. Matt froze up there. What was it like? I remember seeing you there the night we went. Did you go there another time earlier?
Yeah.
So what is your take on this being you're out of state, you come up here, you got to go see this house, you got to go see this tree, you're hearing all this stuff being thrown at you of this urban legend of this place. What's going through your mind? And then I just would like to get your perception, your thoughts on when we saw all those kids that were showing up that night when we went back to videotape it, I know at night.
Yeah.
Tell me what you were thinking about this whole thing.
It was wild for me. I mean, it did give me a little bit more perception as to what I was getting into, just because I knew a lot of the backstory between the relation between the farmhouse and the people who lived there and the tree, and a lot about the legends and everything like that. However, it was different for me going up there, just because I think Matt's aware with the fact that I'm not really like the full believer in the whole paranormal aspect of everything like that. So I kind of went up as more of the skeptic, listened to everything out. I'm not a doubter by any means necessary. I'm open-minded about it. And it was different. It was funny to see how this just old tree played such a big role in, like, even just like my generation, or even kids younger than me knew about it and wanted to see with it, mess with it, harm it, and just touch it even. As simple as something like that. So that I found, very odd. And I never personally got any creepy vibes from the tree. I'm not really as sensitive to those sort of things as a lot of other people. I will say when we went into the farmhouse, that was a different experience for me. That was very odd and something I'd never felt. And I can't explain what it was I felt. It was just an eerie feeling. There was definitely something else odd. There was something off about the house. And I remember at one point getting dizzy, smelling some odd things that just didn't make sense to me. I wasn't sure if it was just the environment or what it was, but I've never experienced anything like that in my life before. So I found that kind of a little off-putting for sure.
Yeah, you had a moment. You had a moment in the film I saw where Matt was saying you were going from the new section to the original section of the house. I
Yeah.
think that's what you're talking about, right?
Yeah, I stepped through the doorway, and Matt, as far as I knew, the house was the 1790 structure, as original. And in the film, there's this one section where I stepped through a door frame, and I mentioned that I feel dizzy, and I do remember this very, very vividly. I stepped through the doorway; it was colder, and I got dizzy, and I didn't know why. And I told Matt, and eventually Matt like looked down and said, "Hey, this is actually technically an add-on to the 1790 structure. You just stepped into the old section." Past that, I didn't experience any, I didn't see anything, no one touched my shoulder or whispered in my ear, anything like that. But it was definitely interesting. Didn't notice it in the new place, but in the old section, it was definitely different. And for some reason too, that side of the house was much cooler, which I found odd.
It and it's so funny when you mention that, because I mean, as I was watching the documentary again, there's two forces at play that were going on here. Well, actually three. Actually there's four. Now thinking about it, there's you guys are telling this story about this tree. And then they're telling this story about the horror behind the tree and the legacy and the history that's coming along with it. Then along comes the farmhouse. Then along comes Matt's personal tie to the story. And then comes the history. And the history of the area is really a very interesting history. And that's why I think that I have this map here that I was just showing about Liberty Corner in the area. And there is a lot of interesting history to this area that goes all the way back to pre-Revolutionary War. Washington had been in here a number of times. This was the hotbed of the Revolution. There were a lot of really creepy things going on as well, because there's something called the Great Swamp, which is to the eastern end of Liberty Corner, which was, again, another area that had things like remnants of the Jersey Devil and witches and witchcraft and all of that. And there was a lot of issues with the Revolutionary War, because just to the west of this circle here was the first military training academy, the precursor to West Point. So that had a lot of history to it as well, and also a lot of number of bad issues that happened. Then we quietly run this place through, and next thing you know, boom, we're in the 1900s, farming area, nothing really going on. All of a sudden, the Klan comes in, starts building up. And for 4 or 5 years in the 1920s, there was this really strong presence of the Klan in the area, and they loved playing around. They actually owned a lot of the property just to the southwest of this circle. So, and they were moving through the area pretty heavily. So, numbers, we're talking about rallies like anywhere from 3 to 10,000 people. For a farming community, that's a lot of people. So what ends up happening is this mashup between history and bad stories all of a sudden gets picked up. I guess early 2000s by Weird New Jersey. It's a magnet for freakish stories. I follow it. I find it really interesting because we just ran a history tour, a haunted history tour in the town of Basking Ridge in the village this past weekend. And there were, 50 people that came and they loved hearing, sort of paranormal, stories, but they were like, is this really true? And you're like, come on, man. What do these are tales, of somebody telling a story. Now, to me, that's what history is. History is in the eye of those that are telling it. And you get the right to tell it the way you feel appropriate to tell it. Now, whether you're backing it up, and there's things sometimes called facts, but then there's also things that are, not quite true, but, could be true. And I loved when Matt turned around and said, I want Brooks, you to see this, because I literally lived, right within this circle as well for probably 6 or 8 years. So I knew the tale and I knew the visitation. But once that article came out, it went crazy and people went crazy. And they really, and Matt actually asked if I would go touch the tree, because there's a story about if you touch it, your hands are going to go black and you're going to feel heat and these things are going to happen to you. The curse will hit you.
That's
and
right.
I said, it's pretty funny because I had taken my kids over, scared the hell out of them. They love the story. They'll tell the story for the rest of their lives. But I never let them touch the tree. They never touched it. I didn't need that karma in my life, right?
I can understand.
So I didn't do it. And then here's Matt coming up and he's telling this story, and in the film, it's kind of funny. He gets it on tape. He coerces me and says, hey, Brooks, if I go over to the tree, would you touch the tree with me? I'm like, yeah, I'm the jackass that'll go all right off the cliff with the other guy. I have
there you go.
Problem.
Ride or die.
I was the guy that was down in New Orleans, and they go, you want to go see the end of the world? And here, just pay your 25 cents. And I'm like, honey, I want to go see that. And she's like, are you crazy? Are you crazy? And I'm like, yeah, come on. What could happen? She's like, that's Santeria. You don't mess with that. You just don't go. And there's just things you just don't mess with. Right.
I think it's interesting when it comes to the tree specifically. I think it can be as real as you want it to be. I know with a lot of the kids that came up to them, they took it very, very seriously. They didn't want to touch it. They were just freaked out even being there. Some of the other kids, they just went straight up and touched it, and they're just like, what's the big deal? And, there's not that, like, thing about it. And I think that's just because of what we break down in the documentary. Of a lot of that, the stories, we check them out. They're a bit more, on the fictitious side. We can't, verify everything. It's different when you go to the house, 100% for sure. That's just something. There's something there, even for someone like me. I go up to the tree, I touch it. It had no problem. Matt will even tell you the second time we went up there, I actually climbed up it a little bit. And I was not thrown from it, like the legends say.
Like the legends say that.
Yeah, I was not thrown. I did not break my leg. But that house, I'll tell you, that house was something else.
Well, there are a lot of stories, and again, if you go back and this is a frontal picture of the tree, and it's funny. It's amazing. Just for example, from a historic perspective, I have some pictures back just in the 90s, and the difference. The tree, the dynamics of the tree have changed since the 90s, and there's definitely they've put chain link fence around it. Kids have tried to burn it down. they've painted it. They've tried to chop it down. They've tried to bring chainsaws to it. There is all kinds of destruction that have been attempted on the tree. The town has done its part. It's now, I think, the property, and Matt, you may know this. There's one family to the west, the east. There's the house, the farmhouse that used to be to the west. There's a orchard, an apple orchard, Ripple Hill Farm across the street. But I'm curious about, to be fair, this is now owned by the county. I'm pretty sure it's owned by the county.
Yes, it is.
And they wanted to put it in part of a bike network going through the entire Somerset County. But
the trail, right?
Yeah, but I do want to throw something out at you that you may or may not have known. Is the house to the left? Matt, which one is that one?
The house to the left is one.
Well, you know who owned it. You know who owned it, right?
Yes, I know the person. I don't want to say his name.
Now that's cool. I just remembered that. However, I know because when we were selling our house, the house next door to that house was being sold, was up for sale. And long story short, my wife and I go over to see the house because it was priced exactly the same that our house was. And we were down the street, maybe 2 miles. We go into the house. My wife is a real estate agent. She goes in and says, hey, just want to let you know, we're looking at comparables. We want to just see the house. But she says, something's not right in this house. I'm just going to tell you, something's not right. Realtor didn't say a word. We go looking around the house, and all of a sudden I said, honey, you want to go take a look down in the basement? She goes, I go to open the door, and she goes, I don't want to go down there. So why don't you want to go down there? She goes, I don't want to go down there. There's something is just not right. I got goosebumps. I'm kind of getting them now. And I'm just thinking about this story, tying back to your whole story. And it just really dawned on me that how close it was all of a sudden nobody said anything. And finally she went home and said, now there's something up with that house. I don't know what's going on. I went and called someone else. And sure enough, the house was being sold because the husband went down in the basement and killed himself in the basement, and the family left.
Yeah. We couldn't find
the realtor didn't disclose it. I freaked out a little bit. I was like, didn't say anything, didn't think about it. And then all of a sudden, Will, you were telling the story about the house just on the other side about like freaky stuff. So, there really is this element of history, and there can be this freaky stuff that happens. And I don't know whether it's paranormal or whatever, but I can tell you what, I was convinced of your documentary about the house stories that you were talking about. So Matt, how did you get to that, knowing that?
Well, let me just, say this too, because like I mentioned before, I was the total doubter kind of coming up. But one thing that definitely I found very fascinating is I don't feel like sometimes we want to go here with this, if a house is haunted, I don't necessarily think the whole thing is haunted. Like I remember I noticed that about the farmhouse. I went down into the basement in the farmhouse that we went into, and I was fine. I felt totally fine down in the basement. It was a creepy basement, all cinder block and everything, but like I didn't have any of that weird feeling or anything. But you go up into that hall and it's weird. And then you hear about all the stories. That's where everyone experiences those weird things, is in those halls. And you even go up into the attic. The attic's super strange and odd. Even the way it's just shaped, it's just very different, but never felt anything up there. So it is interesting to where it seems like it can just kind of reside in a section of the house, where, like for your case, the basement, and in this case, in the farmhouse, the hall, was definitely just like one of the eeriest things I've ever experienced.
So Matt, talk about when in the documentary there is this discussion I guess you're in the bathroom.
Yes.
Who are these people?
Well, first of all, you have to picture this. I'm sitting in the complete black. I can't see a damn thing, and I'm sitting on that damn toilet.
Yeah.
You know, it's completely black. And I saw this. You know, I saw Rob Lowe actually go. He had a series, and he went into a haunted place, and he said that he was going to do something called a blackout session. And I was like, that guy's got some balls. And I'm like, that's how you do it, man. And this is you in the house now. You know, and if there's something there, I think you're gonna figure it out when you do a blackout session. So not to mention that's my favorite thing to do, obviously. But you know, I didn't know that stuff was happening. And this, truth be told, Will and I filmed, and we looked and we looked and we looked. And I told Will, and I said, except for those times when I told you I felt something and felt uncomfortable and felt I was watched, I didn't see a damn thing, Will. You know, and we actually walked outside and we did the whole wrap up, and we talked to each other about how it just wasn't happening and we didn't have enough evidence. And we were just about to release the movie and say, nothing at this house. Sorry, guys. It's all bullshit. And we couldn't do that. You know, we actually made the movie to go up there and say, sorry, we wanted it to be real. We wanted things to happen in that house, and it didn't happen. And at least we told a good story. Thanks for coming by, guys. But when we went through this damn footage, we took the footage to other paranormal
investigators, including people that owned ghost tours and people that had their own television shows. So we did this whole I can use the word plethora or arrangement or levels of all people that enjoy paranormal and don't enjoy paranormal, plus professionals and film professionals. Because when I saw it, I said, well, something's wrong. What the hell is this? And then I show it to Will, and Will is like, man, I've been studying film. I study film every day. I do this every day for a living. What the hell is that? And I say, here we go. Now we got something. So we send it out. I send it to England. I send it to Black Dog Paranormal. We send it to Elizabeth Saint at VidiSpace, which is, I have to mention this before we get off. Tomorrow night at VidiSpace, we go off. Haunted Roots will be on VidiSpace. So we're very excited about that. But everybody that sees that 22 minutes of the house is in love with it. And some people have said this is some of the strongest evidence they've seen on video, especially with orbs on video, because people capture these orbs a lot on still photography. And it's all very subjective. And, we see something, lenses see other things. Can we see all the energy that's around us, Brooks? I'm going to go ahead and say, no, we can't, because it's just our eyes only see certain things, and there's things going on out there that we can't explain. And that bathroom was one of them. And to go right back to what Will said was, when I was in that bathroom in 2004 and 2005, and every time I went in that damn room, I got in and out as fast as possible because I felt somebody was there with me, watching me. And I felt like an idiot. I felt like an ass. I'm like, oh, grow up. You're 40 years, you're 30 years old, dude. You're state champion martial artist, and you know what I mean? And you're taking a piss and showering as fast as you can to get out of this room because you're scared. And really, that bothered me enough to go back 15 years later and say, I gotta know what the hell is happening here. So
well, Brooks too, I can't explain from because I tried to justify it as much as I could, because again, I'm playing the skeptic. I see these little round orb things, and I'm thinking, okay, could be dust. Let's try that. Find plenty of footage with dust. There's no perfect circle-shaped dust particles going around in the footage. I'm like, could be a bug. Found footage with actual bugs in it. There's no circular bugs. It doesn't even. I was like, it just doesn't make sense. I'm like, well, it could be something on the sensor, possibly of the camera. I'm going through all this kind of stuff. And then the thing that totally sold it for me to where I just ruled it out as a camera problem is the one clip of where the orb comes across and it goes down and it disappears behind Matt. It actually disappears behind his shoulder. And that fully ruled it out for me because there's no that tells you it's in 3-dimensional space. Right. If I was to move something down through a lens, it's going to stay in front of that person the entire time. But the fact that it goes behind Matt, I had no clue what it was. And when we took it to those paranormal experts, you know, I said, would it be anything camera related? And they said no. They said that they believe that it's fully a spirit, a entity, whatever you'd like to call it. And that's what I've kind of had to go with at this point, because I know it's not a camera. I'm not saying it's a ghost. I have no other explanation for it whatsoever.
You've got this freaky footage, and you know, you certainly have a story to tell. And even from a historic perspective, you know, I was telling Matt earlier today, I mean, you guys are the last guys really recording, you know, the inside of this property and the outside as well of that house before it was torn down. And Matt raised a great question. Why didn't anybody do anything about it? Why do you just tear down houses from the 1700s? You know, is that common practice? And the answer is no. But, you know, another thing as well is, you know, it is private property, and usually there has to be a cause or a justification or a, you know, a civil, you know, a civic unrest that causes people to say, I want to preserve this place. And we have actually done that in the township for a number of other properties, with whether it was private partnerships or with the, you know, the township or the county. But my question to you is what do you guys do now? I mean, what's next? I mean, what do you do with this? And does this parlay into something else?
I can answer that if you want to do, Matt.
Yeah, go ahead, Will. Yeah, let's.
Well, I'll give you like the first part. Matt can wrap it up here. So like, this was the great start, and one of the reasons why this particular film took so long was the personal connection of Matt towards the property. However, we definitely feel like that we have a knack for being able to capture these paranormal entities, because we keep it bare bones. It's Matt and like it's just me and Matt. That's it. We come into the house. We know what we're looking for. You know, we've talked to multiple people that work in this industry. We know what needs to be filmed, areas that need to be captured, signs to look for. We actually have a whole plethora of places that we would love to explore. And there's quite a few actually back up in Basking Ridge. There's some really interesting places. I mean, I know you guys said you just did a ghost tour there. I mean, that's one of the reasons why we'd love to come back to Basking Ridge. Just so many of the stories and the old folklore and just things that are so old that you're just from like the Revolutionary War era that we'd love to, you know, explore and discuss. There's something interesting about that area. There really is.
I can name at least a half a dozen.
Yeah, Brooks, what I wanted to say and to tag on Will is that you know, we have been invited to a couple places, and you know, it's not free to make these, of course, but you know, this was a passion project for Will and I, and Will and I never may make a penny off this. Like straightforward, where I today, as of October 30th at 9:48, I am way in the red. So if any investors want to come on and take on this project, and any future monies, we welcome you as well. So, but it really is. This was not made for me to make money. You know, look at, you know, this was not made for Will and I to make money. Will and I do Valet Baseball Academy. We make music videos. We make short films. We make other stuff for money. This was actually for like us, and it was a challenge. It was the ultimate COVID crew.
That's fantastic.
You know, two dudes went up and did everything. Just two guys on this from front to back.
It really is. And I, you know, even when you said that, you know, Will, that, you know, this has taken 2-something years, you know, yeah, now I'm thinking about, you know, thinking back in time, it really has. And it's progressed to the point. But for everybody on the call, and, you know, I would like to, you know, we got like 10 minutes left, but just to open it up to everybody else. If anybody has any questions for Matt or Will, we'll certainly allow you.
Can I just say one last thing before we jump into that, just to let you know and let everyone else know, if you haven't seen the film, it is on Amazon Prime right now. Just type in Haunted Roots. It's going to be the first thing that's going to pop up. And it's now coming on Vidi Space, which is a channel that was started by Nick Groff. He captained Ghost Adventures for over 20 seasons. They're still running strong. They absolutely love our show and really want us to make more as well. So that's my shameless plug in there for you guys.
I already got a cover plug for you too coming up. But
cool.
I gotta tell you honestly, I purposely didn't watch the movie. And the reason why I didn't watch it is because I've done actually a few of them, and I kind of don't want to see myself in a movie. But
I know how you feel.
You know, to be entertaining, good. I don't mind if others get entertained, but so be it. But I finally, for those on the call, one of the things I've done since leaving the local historical society is a bunch of us created a more social historic nonprofit to raise money for scholarships, but we do stuff that's more social with historic twist. And the very interesting part about this project is we love to partner with the community and guys like, you, Will, and you, Matt, to do these kind of things. And I just think it's the way to preserve and promote history for us. So I'm all in. I mean, I love it. I respect what you guys do. But that film, when I finally watched it, there was a lot of stress going on with a lot of people around town, and Matt certainly knows about it. There's a lot of people pissed off about this story. And look, you can blame Weird New, if you want to blame anybody, the point ends up being go blame Weird New Jersey. But then again, history is history, and it's those who write it and those who promote it that end up leaving something behind, and then others then judge and determine what to do with it. And so be it.
Yeah.
Kids have
been Brooks,
playing around this tree. Kids have been playing around this tree since before there were cops here. So if cops can't patrol the place, the people do. And if the people don't, or maybe the devil does.
Yeah. Well, the thing was, when you were, you would go to lay down after a hard day's work, and you would put your head on the pillow, and all of a sudden you would hear, "Hey, Brenda, get the gas. Yeah, Mike." And you hear people slamming things and yelling and screaming, and you're like, holy sh. And you look out the window, and you hear a guy with a baseball bat, and everybody knows that sound, and you know what's going on, and it was, some people will say, "Oh, Matt, you're irresponsible for telling this story." But I want to retort, it was really irresponsible just to throw that first story out there and really not follow up ever with it and just say that this place is the mega bowl of paranormal activity. The devil's there. There's seances. There's drugs, women, sentinels, murders, everything. To just dump that in a book and just think that nobody's ever going to show up or do anything there was kind of irresponsible. And this is my cork in that dam. And I called Weird New Jersey a while back. I don't know, but maybe 3 years ago, 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago, when we first started this. I talked to them on the phone. They said they had no interest in the story or talking to me about it or publishing the story that I had. So I went and told it myself.
And you did a good thing. And I got to tell you, when I watched the film, I went out and reached out to some of the other guys that were really having a tough time with this and said, you need to be quiet and you need to watch it. You need to just go watch it. I hate to say this, it's was not a shameless plug. The reality of it, if people wanted to hear, to me, this is Matt's personal story, and it happened to involve these historic icons that have actually started to get a rap and have turned themselves into some of the most haunted places in New Jersey. And
yeah, the mayor himself, when Al Licata came in and he said, we kind of cut this out. He said it was an attractive nuisance and, causing some problems, and in the film, he said, we can't place an officer there 24 hours a day, but it is an attractive nuisance. I mean, it's one of those things where it may attract somebody that may want to do damage or harm or something in your town that they shouldn't be doing. You know what I mean? Like, nobody wants people to come to Basking Ridge and have seances and try to burn down, things in public parks. And I was just hoping that this would put a little cork in all that and maybe just let the tree ride off in the sunset and think of it as, the Native Americans having lunch under there, like they were. And in those fields, I don't know if even the history was talked about. The New Jersey peach was developed there, and Coddington farmed there, and there were Delaware and Lenape Indians there, and people that lived there that just didn't even make the movie. People were telling us that they would till and work there and walk and pull out arrowheads and artifacts. And I was even told by somebody, and this is all third party now because I wasn't alive, but there are pieces of Native American artifacts that were taken off that property at Rutgers right now.
I wouldn't doubt it.
And so that's how that land was. And to have that land, Basking Ridge, is absolutely beautiful. And to have that tainted like that, like it's really tainted. Like, they took one of the most beautiful places in the world and said, all this nasty crap happens and all these bad people are there and it's all KKK and devil worshippers and Basking Ridge this, Basking Ridge that. And I had a voice and I knew the real story. I had a camera and a really talented friend. And so we told the story. Nobody's going to get rich off of it. And maybe it'll stop somebody from burning it down one day. Who knows?
That's a great point. Great point. Hey, just a couple minutes to go. I know there's a bunch of people that are on the call. If anybody want to ask you Matt or Will a question, you can unmic and certainly ask them a question, either about the production of the film, maybe about how they're marketing the film, maybe about some of the work they've been working on. If you'd like to, I see a couple of minutes left. I'm not going to use up all their time unless you guys can take it and run with it.
All right, so this will take care of probably half the questions. Yes, I did hang out with Andrew Lincoln, Rick Grimes. Yes, he is really cool, and everybody on The Walking Dead is really awesome. And I learned an amazing amount of stuff about the business front to back, and working second team there was what really, actually gave me the confidence to ask Will, to work with me, because you can see Will's a talented kid. You just can't walk up to a guy who's talented and say, hey, I got a ball and a stick, let's go play. You got to prove yourself. So, this is kind of like Will Cook and our calling card, to show that we're serious. And like you said, we make sports instructional videos with the guys from the Texas Rangers and Colorado Rockies, and music videos and fashion videos, and just it's everything. And if you're not doing everything in 2020, you're a one-trick pony, and you're not. I don't know if you're a one-trick pony in this business. If you can't film, write, edit, shoot, act, everything, you're kind of a creator of the past. Things have changed.
Yeah. You brought it up, so I'm going to go there. Hey, can you give me the Survivor whistle?
Oh, yeah. That's it.
That's good. And I heard you did the Cobra Kai thing too, right?
Yeah, I was up there for 11 days, and they might give me a blurry award for it. Just every time you saw me, I was blurry and moving, but I played a mechanic named John, and we had a great time. like I said, I didn't have much camera time, but just being on that set and seeing that magic as it was developing, and being able to literally just being in the garage and hanging out and having William Zabka come out and say, "Hey guys, you're doing a great job. Let's go out and have a cigarette." I'd go outside and talk to him for half an hour while he's on break. It's just, everybody's just normal people, and everybody's just normal. And we take a lot of these guys like a Zabka or an Andrew Lincoln or somebody, and they're just like us. They're just like Brooks Betts. They're just like Will. They're just like Matt. They're just like everybody.
I got one thing I got to leave with this, or maybe this though, is learned about the guy from Rhinebeck. He's up in Rhinebeck, New York. The survivor, the head, Rick. Who's the guy? The head of the survivors.
Oh, Negan.
Oh, Negan.
Yeah, Jeffrey Dean Morgan. Yeah.
What's that?
Jeffrey Dean Morgan.
Jeffrey Dean Morgan. I saw a thing on him a couple of weeks ago on CBS This Morning about his farm up in Rhinebeck and the candy store he owned in Rhinebeck. And it's one of the best stories that he and his wife have saved that entire town of Rhinebeck by writing a book and donating all proceeds of the book to go back to the community. It was one of the best stories I ever heard about how someone was influenced to save a small rural town. What a great story.
Yeah.
What a great
guy. Absolutely. Man, I was hoping that next year you guys would throw a party and invite everybody and use this film as a fundraiser next Halloween, maybe.
There you go.
Put that towards the scholarship. You guys are welcome. You guys are always welcome to use that to throw a party and raise money. And gosh, I hope I can come up for next year. That would be really awesome.
There you go. Hey guys, I know we're at the top of the hour. Hey, I'm going to let you guys go because I know you have other commitments.
Yes, sir.
Matt and Will, thank you so much for joining us for an hour of your time on this beautiful full moon mischief night in Basking Ridge, New Jersey. You kept me off the street. That's probably good enough. So I want to thank you guys for joining in. I want to thank everybody else for coming. Certainly we'll have more of these in the future. Again, I just want to thank, if you guys want to pick up their video, you can stream it right now. It's called Haunted Roots. It's on Prime Video. It's coming out to other distribution networks, I think, as well. Well worth it. And I think they've done a great service to the community and to Matt's story, and Will put it together beautifully. And I think it's a great tale. So guys, you should be really proud of it. I think it's a great piece of work. And
thank you, Brooks.
Thank you, Brooks. I really appreciate it. Thanks for having us on.
Yeah, Brooks, you did amazing. And Will, how did Brooks test with all the focus groups?
Everyone, a lot of people like Brooks, but hey, Brooks, I gotta tell you, everyone loved Jerry.
Yes, they love Jerry and Brooks.
Everyone loves Jerry.
They love you guys.
Good. And we still love Jerry in town, man. I get my glasses there.
Yeah,
absolutely. You guys did amazing. And without you and Jerry and Al and Chris and Tom and everybody and Basking Ridge support, we couldn't have made it at all. So thank you, Basking Ridge. We hope you like it. All intentions were good. And thank you so much.
All right, man. We'll leave it out with this. It's just love your local history. And Matt, you guys are showing it. So
you got it. We'll be back to talk again, Brooks.
All right. Thanks, everybody, for joining, and we'll see you again next time.
The grind. The grind is relentless, but I love the grind. So, this lighting's not that good. Okay, so I'm gonna put something in perspective for you guys. This is what a normal timeline of my vlog looks like. 3 lines. That is a typical vlog. to be honest, that's going to be pretty much typically anybody's vlog for the most part. It's fast, it's simple. This is a picture. Let me just show you what the Haunted Roots timeline looks like. Ready for this? This is my timeline, okay? Like right here, so like this is all my footage. This is every single bit of it. All of it. Up here is the length of the timeline. Look at this, guys. I'm gonna go to the very end here. I'm gonna zoom all the way in. The very last clip. That says 11 hours and 35 minutes. That's a lot of footage, guys. That is a lot of footage. Now, granted, I have some gaps in here and stuff like that, so that's not really like the full, but you need space to work. Now, here's the main episode that I'm working on. This is what it looks like. This is by far the biggest project that I've ever done. I'm super stoked about it, but with it, there's just so many logistical nightmares. I mean, it's just... like, there's just so much to take in consideration because, like, I would much rather just post the entire timeline and just give everybody all the information. But there's just, like, little tidbits here and there that you've got to show everybody. And that has to be concise, and that has to complement each other, and that has to intertwine with itself. It is a lot of work, guys. But this is going to be my best project that I've ever done. Hands down. Hands down. Hands down. It's not even done yet, and I can tell. I know. I know. Oh, what's up, guys? Ugh. My hair is getting long. It's at that awkward stage to where it's like, it's nice and long, but then it's just like, it's too short as well, to where it's like, it's like right in the middle, you know? I'm gonna go ahead and end the vlog here, guys, just because got a busy day tomorrow, more Haunted Roots work, and then packing up and getting ready for New York. So I'll keep this brief. I will see you guys bright and early tomorrow morning.
Walk slowly and talk slowly.
It's better knowing how to fall than to stumble. Living on the line with the truth all day. I've seen you on the radar so many times. I don't wanna end up hiding. I don't wanna end up hiding. So you're coming close when I need you the most. Slow it down.
It is late and I am tired, guys. I've been working pretty long and hard on Haunted Roots. Guys, I got the little Superman curl going on here. I dig this. I think. It's definitely kind of getting on my nerves now. Well, I've been busy working all day on I was able to hit the gym, so that was nice. But yeah, I've been working on the Devil's Tree and Haunted Roots, guys. I'm really excited with this project. I finally feel like it's somewhat coming together. It's been a lot of work. It's very hard. I'm not gonna lie, it's one of the hardest projects I've ever worked on. There's just, you know how a lot of projects you have a script and you go straight into it and then you can kind of use the script as a reference? Well, this, I have all the footage and there was no script and I'm having to write the script out of all the footage. It's very weird, it's very different, and it's all out of order. And there's like interweaving stories, so I'm having to go through interviews multiple times, and I'm tired. I get some milk. sorry if like the camera looks different and everything, and it probably actually looks better, you know, because I'm on a really wide lens, and I don't know. I really like the I'm on my old vlogging camera right now. Luckily, I needed a really light wind. I needed a really light winds. I needed a really wide lens to do that time lapse. I'm just a little bit tired, guys, just a little bit. Luckily, tomorrow I'm actually meeting somebody over in Gainesville to pick up a wide lens for my Canon. So then that will be taken care of. I won't ever have to come back to the Sony, which is a shame. I love the Sony. Like, look how wide this lens is. It's amazingly wide. And the camera, like, it just performs so well in low light. I'll stop annoying you, Billy, by talking about cameras and lenses and stuff. You're welcome. Anyway, I'm gonna get back to work, guys. So probably gonna edit this and go to bed, go crash, get some sleep. I'll see you guys bright and early tomorrow morning.
Peace out, guys.
Hey, thank you.